I mean, look at us. You've been listening to this song for probably what 30 or 40 years, and still, whenever you reference it, you're just going Foxhole. So yes, it is engaging. They hit the nail on the head.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of That's Audiophiles. Hmm. My name's John. His name is Andy. Come a little bit closer. Hear what I have to say. Just like children sleeping, we could dream this night away. More on that later. But first, we have business to attend to, and that business is music. Now, because it's Friday, we have a request from one of our wonderful viewers. And this one is an old favorite, both requestor and the requested. So Terry Sutton, how are you, sir? He dropped a comment in The Stranglers, nice and sleazy, does it every time. And he suggested another band which we've listened to before, Television.
Mm, excellent.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm looking
Uh,
forward to getting back into some television.
yeah, so this one is Foxhole. Foxhole, Foxhole. Yes, Foxhole. He has suggested. I know, I know. I know television. Sounds like a real brand. I know television. But I do know this song. So Andy, of course, is listening to this. So yeah, another one to get your teeth into.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said a moment ago, looking forward to listening to more of these guys. I can already tell if the song comes, if this particular track, Foxhole, comes off the album that's posted up behind you, this is new territory for me, right? Because the first album contained the two tracks that we've done in the past.
Yeah.
This, I'm assuming, comes off this other album, which is I have yet to listen to. So it would be nice to listen to um, music off a whole nother album. Maybe their sound has changed or there's something to it I can extrapolate from that, is different from Marquee Moon and such. So yeah, this will be interesting and cool. And I love their sound, so I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. Well, you scuttle off and get your ears around this one and come back and tell us what you think.
Will do. I love the way it started. I have to say that this has more of a just I know this is early days here and things are like to change, but this has more of a just that opening guitar riff has more of a mainstream 70s rock kind of sound to it than I think the stuff off Marquee Moon, including the song Marquee Moon, had. I don't know, there was something a little bit more indie or undergroundy about that sound, which made it super appealing to me. That doesn't make this not sound good or anything. I think it sounds great. It does just have I think a more general appeal um to the sound for what would consider to be like the masses or whatever, with just that you know, conventional bluesy kind of guitar line to start things off. But things I'm sure are like to change and go in different places. So we will see where those places are as we progress. None of that was meant to be a pejorative. It's just a little bit of a difference that I noticed in sound, considering it looks like we're getting into another probably later album. I think that was their Marquee Moon was their debut, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. Um, but yeah, just a little bit of a change in their sound, at least that's what I'm assuming. But yeah, no, so far so good. Let's see where it goes from here.
wants your orders to execute. Send him out.
Ooh.
Leave the screaming red lights in a narrow.
Real quick though, I like the way the two guitars are working together. The one is doing that conventional sort of riff, but there's these like sort of chords that are kind of like ricocheting off the soundscape that they've built in between, like in sort of filling in the gaps, if you will. And I love the weird bendy, pitchy kind of sound that they have. And perhaps this is where they're starting to get a little bit more against the grain of convention by adding those kind of like little sounds in there through that other guitar. But yeah, I really, really enjoy this so far.
Ditch full of funny fights.
Yeah.
Foxhole, foxhole, oh no danger. Foxhole, foxhole, where's my guardian angel? Foxhole, foxhole, I know. Show me the world. I don't know what for. Show me the world, but that war such a bore. In the
Okay, loved the descending guitar motif played in what is either a post chorus or a pre verse, sort of a chicken and egg thing here. I don't know what we're going to call it, but whatever that bit was, that portion of the song, I really loved the guitar there. And then I love how to kind of like create a connection piece between that and what would be the second verse. There's this lovely guitar lick that occurs there as well to kind of carry us into the second verse that we're now in the throes of here. So yeah, this sounds great.
line of duty, in a line of fire, a heartless heart is my proper attire. Foxhole, foxhole, too much danger. Foxhole, foxhole, where's my guardian angel? Foxhole, foxhole, too much danger. The flashing sword, it's been explored. A perfect slice of life.
All right.
I feel the
Ooh, we're taking that back because that latter bit of the lead almost had, I don't know. It reminds me of like the starting point of what Jack White would later do in songs like Blue Orchid or Icky Thump. Like the first step, like he sort of took that sound and then really ran with it. But it's like the first evolutionary stage in the way his guitar would sound and how he would play his leads in those aforementioned songs. So I really like that. And then earlier, there's sort of like this. Like the lead sounded like it was played by somebody on shaky ground, like they were like couldn't keep their footing, so they were sliding all over the neck a little bit, but perfectly kind of in tune and on pitch. No, that was a lot of fun. I liked that. So take it back and we'll listen to that again. Shaky.
danger. Foxhole, foxhole. Hello, dying angel. Foxhole, foxhole. No more danger. You pin me down. Go ahead, it's a cinch. You pin me down. You'll feel that pinch. I was trained for the fights.
It's great.
Foxhole, foxhole. Foxhole, foxhole. Foxhole,
Guitar is great. Yeah, I really that grew on me and grew on me. I didn't dislike it from the beginning. It sounded good. It had promise. But I love some of the choices that they made, whether it's the little guitar bits that kind of connect each portion of the song, whether it's verse to chorus, chorus to post chorus, post chorus to then verse again. And then the more overt guitar driven parts, the leads, they're there at the end that we just listened to. And then in the actual kind of proper lead portion just a bit earlier in the song. Um, Fabulous stuff. Yeah, the lead guitar for me and what it did at times was kind of the standout player. Good chugging bass line that kind of had that blues rock feel to it. Um, the subject matter, it sounded, I mean, about war in some way, shape, or form. Probably, kind of the savage nature of it, maybe. I mean, at one point I heard Goodbye Arms, So Long Head. Probably not coming back from that. Just my guess. And sounds pretty savage and barbaric. So maybe that's what it's about. Yeah. Regardless, a good listen. I don't know if it quite holds up to the stuff off Marquee Moon, but it's pretty damn good. And I would listen to this again. I really loved what I heard in some of that guitar, the lead guitar work that was happening there. Again, yes, it reminded me of some of what I've heard Jack White do. But he's kind of a jack of all trades when it comes to guitar. So, but there are aspects of his playing that I was reminded of when listening to this. So, yeah, this was another really good listen by the boys in television. So let's get back and discuss it and learn more about it from John.
Conrad Bartelski, he's back. So you've had to listen to Foxhole, Foxhole. What do you make of it?
Foxhole. You like group chant that every time you hear it now.
You can't just say the title. You have to go Foxhole, Foxhole. What are you listening to? Foxhole. Yeah.
It makes sense. You were doing it before I went off and listened to it. I'm like, why is he saying it like that? Now I'll never hear Foxhole without thinking of it delivered like that ever again. Yeah, the guitar work in the beginning is really enjoyable, as are like the drums that kind of slowly make their way in. We joked recently about the Phil Collins way of coming into a drum. There was a little bit of that, right? A couple hits here and there, and then you found your pacing. Some chugging, blues rock bass underneath of it as well. I do feel like, and this, I think it's just apropos to the intro, but as you're experiencing it for the first time, you think, oh, is this going to be how the whole song sounds? Shame on me for even allowing that thought because these guys aren't so conventional. But the intro did have more of like a mainstream 70s rock. That guitar line was very 70s blues guitar rock, you know what I mean? So I was like, oh, this is a little bit more conventional or mainstream sounding from of them. Is this a case of, second or third album kind of you know how bands do that, right? The first one's like, oh, this is so different. And then they sort of assimilate a little bit into, whatever the taste of the day is. I feared that that was going to be kind of a glimpse of the rest of the song. Not that it would have been bad, but it would have been like, it would have taken a little bit of the mystery and mystique away of my experience of listening to television when I was listening to Marquee Moon, um, the album and the song. So but I was, fortunate enough that as cool as this intro was, it didn't just stick to this kind of semi-predictable or already have heard kind of blueprint, which is really, really great. I was happy to hear that. And I mean, continuing to enjoy, like as the verse starts, even though it has that same conventional kind of one riff on the guitar, there's the other guitars doing some really weird, interesting shit where they're like ricocheting and peppering in these either slightly bendy chords or these slightly pitchy chords in between the gaps, kind of filling it in with these weird chord sounds. And I really liked that a lot. I thought that was quite interesting and intriguing, and it gave sort of new life to the song and didn't make it seem so like such a retrodden path or something that had already been done before. So I liked that a lot. Um, and just after the verse, there is this like interestingly quirky little run on the guitar that kind of warbles forth and introduces the chorus. Now, that observation could probably be cut and pasted about every transition to every part in this song, where they do this interesting but ever changing little lead lick that acts as sort of the epoxy between the portions of the song and kind of staples it together or connects it. And again, great choice. Even better choice not to make it the same guitar motif to connect pieces. So yeah, you can come to expect a guitar portion to connect whatever part comes next, but you can't predict what it will be. That was a very smart decision of them, and I like that a lot as well. Um, the chorus then introduces this group vocal call and response method, where the group sings "Foxhole, Foxhole," which you and I have already discussed, but this is my observation in real time written down. So then that each one of those is then followed by, is it Tom Verlaine? Is that the guy's name? Yeah, by him singing sort of on his own in response to that group chant. Um, and I thought that was really fun. Great way to, it's sort of engaging for the audience. Then I mean, look at us. You've been listening to this song for probably what 30 or 40 years, and still, whenever you reference it, you're just going Foxhole. So yes, it is engaging. They hit the nail on the head. And then there's this post-chorus bit, or is it a pre-verse? Is it like the glass half full, is it half empty, chicken or egg? I don't know. I digress. But either way, there is this part after the chorus, before the second verse. Um, and there's this really lovely descending guitar kind of like riff that works its way throughout that bit. And it's one of my favorite parts of the song. I just love the way that sounds. And we get treated to another verse. And after it and before the next chorus, we get yet another but different short bit of guitar work, as I mentioned a moment ago. And I liked just this idea of like always playing with that, you know what I mean? As I also stated before. So kudos to them for keeping things fresh and funky. And after the descending post-chorus bit at the 2:23 mark, we get this stellar lead guitar, which is really, it's not the way the song started with that blues guitar stuff. You're like, I already know what the lead is going to sound like in this track. You know what I mean? But you're wrong if you assume that, because it definitely goes more of an indie route, or sort of like a post rock route ish, with this really interesting lead guitar that he plays. At one point, it sounds like a guy whose feet moves when he's firing a gun. You know what I mean? Like it's sliding a bit as he's playing guitar. Like the ground beneath him is uneven or uneasy, like an earthquake. Like you're playing on you know, a 2 point something grade earthquake. You can still play, but you're gonna feel it. But then there's also like these shades of like Jack White style effects that almost give, like, that I've heard him employ on songs like Blue Orchid or Icky Thump, but not turned up to 11 like Jack White does in those tracks. It's almost like the steps that had to be taken in order for him to run were done in this track, and he maybe picked up on that, or it's just a coincidence and a similarity, or maybe it's just my ears failing me. but it reminded me in the moment of stuff that Jack White would then run with in later, 30 years later. So I thought that was really kind of cool as well, and I love the way that sounded. My favorite part of the song, no doubt, was that lead. And I after that I catch Goodbye Arms So Long Head. And like talk about being bad off. Like I don't think there's any coming back from these kind of ailments. That's pretty much all she wrote. So given Foxhole, allusions to war, I'm sort of getting like the sort of barbaric nature of warfare or allusions to it in this track. So perhaps that's the overall meaning. You can kind of better illustrate that for me when I'm done yapping here, give me a clearer picture of what I infer to be the meaning of the song, or at least the crux of it. Um, Another round of verse chorus post chorus follows the lead. But then after the post chorus at like the 340 marker, we get more really intriguing guitar work that kind of carries us through another series of these foxhole chants. And then that sort of fades out to the end of the song. And this was yet another example of some really stellar lead guitar work that was done in tandem with this sort of vocal track that was laid over top of it. And another standout kind of attribute or portion of this song. And again, that hinges on the guitar. So for me, the star of this song was the lead guitar for the most part. I mean, everyone sounded good, but that sounded great. And it oftentimes took it from a level of like good, but similar to stuff I've heard before to I've heard stuff like this, but not a lot of it, and there needs to be more of it type levels of like, familiarity or what I liked about it. So yeah, this was a really good song. This is their sophomore album. Is that correct, or am I wrong there? It is. Well, especially for your sophomore effort where so many bands kind of, fall into the trap. It doesn't sound like these guys did too much. I was afraid that they might have with the first 10 seconds of the song, but they put me in check and kept it fresh and funky, and I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Interesting. Yeah, I wonder what you might make of this. It's an interesting choice as well by Terry. Yeah, I'll get into it. So this is from Adventure, their second album, released in 78. We've done a couple of tracks before, so I'll do a playlist of television stuff, so it'll be on there. You can go and check the other episodes out and get all the gritty details about them. But just a name check of the bad players of this episode. Tom Verlaine, lead vocals, guitar, keyboards. Richard Lloyd, guitar vocals. Fred Smith, bass vocals, and Billy Vicker, drums. Yeah, this album is tricky. It's really tricky. It got absolutely shat on by the critics.
Oh,
But
really?
mind you, quite a few of them shat on the first album until some people pointed out how brilliant it was, and then they all jumped on the bandwagon. The problem that this album has got is that it's not Marky Moon.
Yeah.
Much like, many years later, Second Coming, Stone Roses. The problem is it's not the first album. And I don't know what people are expecting, but this is a really good album. And if it was heard as this was like a new band called Television have just done an album called Adventure, you listen to it, think, holy shit, guitars in this are amazing. This is a really cool, album, great crafted songs. But everyone's heard Marky Moon usually before they hear Adventure. And I would say for a lot of people, it's perhaps a bit of a letdown because it is different. So
I can understand that. Like, it sounded like in the first album there were they let songs. I don't know. This was, I don't know what to say. I've only listened to a few songs off that album, but I remember the construct being a bit more spacious in the songs, where they would just ride the music out for a while and take their time deconstructing and rebuilding aspects of the song. Whereas this one seemed very like, here's this part, here's this part, here's this part. The interesting facets of it were how they connected the parts, and even the lead part that I thought was really good didn't last very long. You know what I mean? Whereas, like, I remember Marquee Moon, there was a good chunk of just solid music dynamic work in that maybe is something that was really appealing and set it apart as an album that this track and other tracks on this album lacked.
Yeah, it's difficult because Marky Moon as a track is an exceptional sort of one-off piece, and the album is one of the greatest debut albums of all time, and it's certainly one of the greatest albums of all time, full stop. And so, comparing it's really difficult.
Yeah.
This album, there are some differences in terms of the way they've done the songs. Also, the production is very different, and it doesn't have that sort of rough feel to it, which kind of lumped them into the CBGB's punk scene thing, even though it wasn't. So yeah, just to give you an idea, I'll just quickly go through the album because I haven't got loads to say on this, and also the very differing opinions on it. So it starts off with this song called Glory, which is kind of like almost a sing-along sort of groovy opener. It's got a bit of that sort of drive to it from the first album, but it has some great lyrics in it. Starts off, I was stumbling in the rain, staring at your lips so red. You said, blah, 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 got a pillow stuck in my head. I think that's just great, great, great line. Followed by Days, and we'll come back to these, what people think of these. Days is a very gentle, thoughtful song. It has Richard Lloyd solo in that one. Foxhole that you just listened to. Fantastic solo again. That's kind of guttural in places. Careful is an upbeat, jaunty number. I would say it's quite lightweight, poppy. Carried Away is ponderous. Doesn't really do it for me. The Fire, I did not like when I first heard it, but it's growing on to me now. Real slow burning song. Epic solo. My third favorite solo of any television song.
Well, then
Ain't That
put that one on
Nothing?
my list, please.
Yeah. Well, Ain't That Nothing would not be out of place on Marquee Moon. It has the most entwined guitar action of the whole album. So you get the two guitars, but they really are entwined in Marquee Moon. They sort of work together so well. And you just get them sort of piecing together here. This song they do entwine, and it's full of that sort of New York coolness vibe. Again, it's a Lloyd solo on Ain't That Nothing. It's a really cool song. And then the final song is The Dream's Dream, which is my second favorite television solo, guitar solo. It's not showy. It doesn't go on for 8 minutes, but it is just tonally and because of that emotionally perfect. And it has a great opening line to the song as well. The elevator called me up. She said, you better start making sense, which I thought was quite funny, seeing what was going on at the time. So yeah, I'll read you some sort of reviews. I'll try to sort of edit them down a bit so we're not just reading for 20 minutes. All Music said, the quieter, more layered sound is just what the Doctor ordered for songs like Glory and The Dream's Dream. Adventure has one of the greatest guitar bands of all time, playing superbly on a set of truly fine songs, and albums like this come along far too infrequently for anyone to ignore music this pleasurable simply on the grounds of relative evaluation. It's not quite a masterpiece, but it's a brilliant album by any yardstick. So you get the idea. Sputnik said Adventure is the sound of television going back and doing exactly what they had done before musically, and the magic is still there. The stop-stop motions of Marquee Moon's title track form the backbone of Glory, and the solos of Foxhole are just as freewheeling as Friction. New lanes are aptly explored, such as the Soldier's Lament in Foxhole, a rare outing into war by Verlaine. But for the most part, the lyrical obtuseness of television's debut is less present, save for the pondering of whether the dream dreams the dreamer, was final song. That's a good point, actually. Like Foxhole, it's pretty straightforward lyrically. There's no sort of interesting twists like they are on the sort of debut. And a lot of the songs, the lyrics are fairly straightforward. Culture Fusion reviews said the big difference between this album and Marquee Moon really lay in one single word: softer. The band has toned down their energy and rawness considerably on this album. The rawness of the Andy Johns production has been replaced with a cleaner production that definitely puts it a notch lower in the eyes of many fans. Yes, a song like Foxhole would have hit much harder with Marquee Moon production, but isn't that song something as it is? The intricate two-guitar riff and great pinch harmonic at the end of the riff gives it that unique sound. The simple but catchy riff and chorus of Foxhole, Foxhole, the anti-war lyrics, and the occasional dissonant guitar playing of Verlaine and Richard Lloyd. I tried to find something that mentioned Foxhole as well in this classic rock review website. Overall, Adventure is more dreamlike and less furious guitar-oriented than Marquee Moon. Television finally reveals its harder side on Foxhole, which is all power and jagged edges from its opening guitar chords. Verlaine does more snarling than singing. The chorus, Foxhole, Foxhole, is simple but tough, and the band's famous twin guitars are unleashed. Verlaine plays a sinuous solo, as well as lots of feral guitar, some of the most vicious and keening guitar he would ever play, as a matter of fact, as the song heads towards its end. Taken on its own merits, Adventure is a fantastic album, but packed with incredible songs, Glory, Foxhole, Days, and remarkable playing. In the immediate wake of Marquee Moon, however, its more reflective, understated mode couldn't help but be seen slightly anticlimactic. So, just going to the lyrics of the song. Soldier boy stands at full salute. He wants your orders to execute. Send him out neath the screaming red lights in a narrow ditch for the funny fights. Foxhole, Foxhole, oh no danger. Foxhole, Foxhole, where's my guardian angel? Foxhole, Foxhole, oh no. You showed me the war. I don't know what for. You showed me the war, but that war, such a bore. In the line of duty, in the line of fire, a heartless heart is my proper attire. Foxhole, Foxhole, too much danger. Foxhole, Foxhole, where's my guardian angel? Foxhole, Foxhole, too much danger. The flashing sword has been explored. The perfect slice, a perfect slice of life. And then that guitar solo. I feel the shells hit. Moonlight web. Goodbye arms. So long head. Foxhole, Foxhole, too much danger. Foxhole, Foxhole, hello, guardian angel. Foxhole, Foxhole, oh, more danger. You pin me down. Go ahead, it's a cinch. You pin me down. You'll feel the pinch. I was trained for the fights. And then Foxhole, Foxhole, ad infinitum over that final wailing guitar. So yeah, just to give you an idea, opinion is so divided on this album, and indeed on the tracks. So I managed to get some people who said, like, the best three songs are this, and you'll see what it's like, and different opinions. So Trouser Press. Adventure is, contrary to its title, smoother and more controlled than its predecessor, but does not want for good material. Glory, Foxhole, and The Beautiful Days show the band to have a firm grip on songwriting. And then Rate Your Music, you've got Users. It's often dangerous listening to Users, but sometimes it's interesting. Miss 3 Abded, annoying, cloyingly sweet new wave with shitty vocals and arrangements. Nah. Not a fan. Jabber. The first three songs are extraordinary. So Carried Away isn't quite as good, but nevertheless decent. I haven't much interest in the remainder. Reza 79. There are some belting tunes on this, including my personal favorite, Careful, top-notch art punk soundtrack. It closes strongly with three songs that more than hint at the inspiration that made Marquee Moon such a hand-down masterpiece. The rest of the album, unfortunately, doesn't even come close. So you got someone saying the first three are the best, and someone saying the last three are the best.
Someone saying it's completely shit, somebody else saying it's a pretty damn good album. Yeah, it's all over the map, isn't it?
Yeah, Mother Nature's Son. Not quite the masterpiece that Marquee Moon is, but certainly a solid album in its own right. Favorite tracks, Glory, Days, Foxhole, Careful. Martin Heidegger. Days is the best track on the album, and in my eyes is also neck and neck with Venus as the best television song in general. Sunvin, Carried Away in the Fire are very evocative, and Days is a perfect pop rock song in my book. And Lucia Devecchi, Don't Hate Me, I just like it better than Marquee Moon. The dream's dream is the pearl. So yeah, there's even, I was going to include, and I thought, no, fucker. There's even a really bad, I mean, terrible review from Julie Burchill in the NME that was contemporary to the time. You won't know her. She's a writer and deeply unhappy, sardonic cow, basically, who tries to. Yeah, one of these people who's got that sort of self-love, self-loathing that comes from having a tremendously ugly personality trapped inside. Yeah, and we get the modern day versions now in this country, like Katie Hopkins and Farage and people like that. But she just tried to be controversial to earn her keep shit. So I thought, no, I'm not going to even include that, even as fun. So she'd write a scathing piece because I forgot what the guy's name was in the enemy, but he'd done a front page on the release of Marky Moon saying, I found genius in this album. So she took great delight in saying, oh, this is shit. Because, you know, people are like that. So, yeah, I mean, my take on this album is I really like it. I don't think it has the same impact as Marky Moon, but then what would? And, like, you know, obviously I heard that first, and so it'll always be with me. But I'd say, yes, almost every song has incredible guitar work on it, and there's three absolutely brilliant solos, Foxhole being one of them, that are just tremendous. So Verlaine, you listen to him, and it's almost like it's too easy for him, and he gets bored, so he just throws in something. You
Yeah.
know, and I do know that when they play live, he doesn't play the same every time. You know, it's just different. It's just
Yeah.
absolutely so gifted, you know, and they work so well together as a group. Obviously, just a couple of months after this album came out, they broke up due to artistic differences between Verlaine and Lloyd. The latter's heavy drug addiction probably didn't help, and the fact he spent half the time they were recording this, he was in hospital. But you know, they got back together in '92 for their third self-titled album, which is another story. So yeah, I think this is decent, really decent album, and there's some, you know, some great tracks to listen to. That the Dream Stream is one of my favorite songs, and so some The Fire as
Yeah.
well.
I'll say something that I feel vindicated in, or it's just nice to have affirmation and being like so new to listening to these guys and picking up on what I'm picking up on is hearing that what was said at the time and is still said about this band is the interplay between the two guitarists and how it transcended from it's part of what made the first album genius. But even if you don't like the music as much as you on the second album as you do in the first, that is still an integral part of their sound. Is this like almost connected wavelength in their minds and in their playing styles and how they play guitar together, because that stood out a lot to me on this track. It was one of the first things I noticed was how great these guitars sound kind of bouncing off the two different things that they're doing and how they sound together is just it was great. I really enjoyed that
And
aspect.
I mean, you know, Tom Verlaine's no longer with us, but for their output, it was always there, that magic, you know,
Yeah.
which is unique. Okay, I shall wrap things up. Thanks so much, Terry, for
Yeah.
suggesting this.
Good one,
Great
Terry.
track. Thanks for listening to this, Andy. Good job. Folks out there, tell us what you think about this song, about the album as well. Are you a sort of second coming sort of viewing on this, or do you dig it like some of these crazy cats did? Please drop some comments and let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do. And more meaty goodness will come your way. We really appreciate everybody who supports the channel. That being said, thanks again so much for watching, and we'll see all of you in the next episode of the Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.